Did you know that in some parts of the world, mature older women are driven to sell themselves to strangers just to survive? This shocking reality is far more common than you might think. Please watch to the end, last part will shock you. Imagine for a moment a world where a roof over your head, a warm meal, or even the basic necessities of life are not guaranteed. This is the grim reality that some mature older women around the globe grapple with daily. Their survival hinges on the unthinkable, selling themselves to strangers, a reality that's as harsh as it is heartbreaking. Now you may be wondering, why does this happen? The reasons are manifold and complex. Picture an intricate web, where each thread represents a different factor. Poverty is the central strand, forming the backbone of this web. It's a relentless force, pushing these women to the brink to make choices nobody should ever have to make. But poverty doesn't work alone. It's reinforced by other threads like societal norms and cultural beliefs that place women in positions of vulnerability. In many societies, older women are seen as dispensable, their worth depreciating with age. This lack of social security forces them into desperate situations where selling themselves becomes the only viable option for survival. And then there's the thread of political instability. In conflict-ridden countries where chaos reigns and basic human rights are trampled upon, the plight of these women is often overlooked. They become invisible victims, lost in the maelstrom of war and strife. This is not just a story of a few isolated incidents. It's a global issue, one that affects countless lives. Yet it remains shrouded in silence, its victims suffering in the shadows. Our aim here is to shed light on this unpalatable truth, to bring into focus an issue that's too often ignored. We want to pull back the curtain on this dark corner of our world and delve into the top 5 countries where this problem is most prevalent. Because the first step to solving a problem is acknowledging its existence, and it's high time we acknowledge this one. Now let's take a closer look at the countries where this issue is most prevalent. But wait, before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my crucial stuff. Comment "I subscribe" below and I will personally welcome you to our community. Let's get started. First on our list is the Philippines. The economic instability and the high poverty rate have forced many older women into this harsh reality. In this archipelago nation of over 7,000 islands, the shimmering blue waters and lush greenery belie a darker undercurrent. The Philippines, despite its natural beauty and rich cultural heritage, grapples with economic instability and a high poverty rate. This economic uncertainty has led to an unfortunate phenomenon, one that sees mature women selling themselves to strangers just to get by. Under the weight of poverty, these women find themselves caught in a silent storm. It's a storm that's been brewing for a long time, fueled by a mix of systemic issues, cultural norms, and societal pressures. It's not a choice made lightly, but one born out of desperation and the will to survive. To truly comprehend the gravity of this issue, we must delve into the heart of the Filipino society. The Philippines is a country where familial responsibility is deeply rooted in the culture. Older women, often the matriarchs of their families, bear the brunt of this responsibility. With limited employment opportunities and a lack of social safety nets, they are left with few options to provide for their families. The stories are heart-rending, yet they remain largely untold. They are stories of mothers and grandmothers who, against their will, have been pushed into this life. Their identities remain hidden, shrouded in a veil of anonymity, yet their stories are as real as the tears they've shed and the sacrifices they've made. In the face of adversity, these women display a resilience that is both admirable and heartbreaking. They are the unsung heroes, fighting a battle they never chose, yet confront every day. As we cast a spotlight on this issue, it's important to remember that the Philippines is not an isolated case. This is a global issue, one that transcends borders and cultures. It's a testament to the shared human experience, a reminder that we are all interconnected in this world. The situation in the Philippines is indeed troubling, but it's not the only country grappling with this issue. Next, we turn to India, a country where societal norms and economic hardships combine to create a perfect storm for this issue. In the heart of India, a country renowned for its rich culture and vibrant traditions, a darker narrative unfolds. A narrative of societal pressures, gender discrimination, and economic struggles that force mature older women into a life they never chose for themselves. The societal fabric of India is complex. It's a tapestry woven with threads of tradition, religion, and societal norms. But sometimes these threads can tangle and knot, creating a stranglehold on those caught within its grip. Women, particularly those of an older age, often find themselves at the mercy of these societal constraints. Imagine a bird trapped in a cage. It sees the sky, yearns for the freedom it represents, but the rigid bars of the cage keep it grounded. This cage represents the societal norms that bind these women, the expectations and stereotypes that limit their options and dictate their lives. But societal pressure is just one side of this multifaceted issue. Economic hardships add another layer of complexity. India, despite its economic growth, still grapples with poverty. This poverty disproportionately affects women, especially those who are older and have fewer opportunities for employment. They are left with little choice but to sell themselves to strangers for survival. Let's take a moment to consider the stories of these women, stories that remain largely untold. Stories of strength, resilience, and survival against the odds. While we cannot share their names, we can share their experiences. One woman, we'll call her Maya, speaks of the societal pressures that led her down this path. Another, we'll call her Geeta, talks about the economic hardships that left her with no other option. These stories shed light on the complex issue at hand. They highlight the societal pressures and economic struggles that contribute to the problem. They also underscore the need for change, for societal reform, for economic development that doesn't leave anyone behind. The societal pressures in India undoubtedly contribute to the issue. However, other countries face similar struggles. In Thailand, the allure of tourism often masks a darker reality. Beneath the shimmering temples and bustling markets, invisible chains bind the country's mature women to a life they never chose, a life where dignity is a luxury and survival is a daily battle. Poverty, a ruthless taskmaster, pushes these women into the shadows where they trade their self-respect for a handful of coins. Imagine, if you will, a woman named Somsri, a widow, a mother, a grandmother. She has toiled in the fields under the harsh Thai sun for the better part of her life. Yet when age and illness make her unable to work, she finds herself with no safety net, no social security, and no way to feed her family. Her options are limited, her choices grim. Somsri's story is not unique. It echoes the plight of countless other older women in Thailand. Their narratives are woven into a tapestry of desperation and despair, a stark contrast to the vibrant, colorful image of the land of smiles that the tourism industry projects. Tourism in Thailand is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it brings in much-needed foreign currency. On the other hand, it fuels an underground economy that exploits the vulnerable. The elderly, particularly women, often bear the brunt of this exploitation. They are the casualties of a system that prioritizes economic growth over human dignity. These women's stories are not just about poverty, they are about the failure of a society to protect its most vulnerable members. They are about a world that values youth and beauty over wisdom and experience. They are about the human cost of economic disparity. The price of poverty is not measured in dollars and cents. It's measured in lost dreams, in stolen dignity, in lives lived on the fringes. It's a price that these women pay every day, a price that we as a society cannot afford to ignore. Thailand's case shows us how economic factors play a significant role in this issue, yet other countries are dealing with similar problems. Before we continue, can I beg a little favor? If you're liking what you're hearing, show us some love by pressing that like button. And hey, if you want to be in the loop for our fantastic upcoming videos, make sure to press subscribe and ring that bell so you're always in the know. Oh, and one more thing, drop a quick "I subscribe" down in the comments and I'll make sure to offer you a warm welcome to our amazing family. Alright, enough of that. Let's keep the conversation flowing. Finally, we look at Ukraine and Russia, where the harsh economic climate has created a desperate situation for many older women. The icy winds of economic hardship blow especially cold in these regions, where the collapse of the Soviet Union left a chilling legacy of poverty. The economic structures that once offered a semblance of security for the elderly have melted away, leaving many older women in a precarious position. In Ukraine, the country's economic turmoil, exacerbated by political instability, has created a grim reality for many older women. With pensions barely covering basic needs, some are forced to seek alternative means of survival. It's a tale as old as time, yet it's a narrative that continues to unfold with each passing day. Now let's turn our gaze towards Russia. Here, the situation isn't much different. The nation's economic struggles and the high cost of living have pushed many to the brink. The plight of older women in Russia is a stark reminder of the human cost of economic failure. To truly grasp the gravity of the situation, we need to delve into the personal stories hidden behind these cold statistics. Take, for instance, the story of Elena, a woman in her late 60s from Ukraine. Once a school teacher, she now finds herself navigating a world that seems to have turned its back on her. Or consider Natasha, a Russian woman of similar age, who once worked as a nurse but now fights daily battles against poverty and social stigma. These deeply personal narratives shed light on a broader situation. They represent not just individual struggles, but the silent cries of countless older women in Ukraine and Russia. It's a cold reality indeed, but one that needs our attention. The aim here isn't to evoke pity or despair, but to illuminate the struggles faced by these women and thousands like them. It's about acknowledging the problem, understanding its roots, and striving towards meaningful solutions. The stories from Ukraine and Russia conclude our exploration of this global issue. Yet it's not the end of the conversation. It's an invitation to engage, to empathize, and to act.